The entire land of demonic spirits was filled with exclamations, and in an instant, the sky turned from blue to dark and gloomy. Clouds rolled and twisted, forming a massive vortex. The vortex was so large it spread across the horizon, expanding with every rotation. As it spun, sword chi shot out in waves, dispersing into the world. A domineering aura, as if it were the very essence of the heavens, erupted from within the vortex. At the same time, 7 rainbow-like beams of light appeared, scattering across the land. In that moment, all the ancient demons within the land of demonic spirits solidified into form, rising from their sacred grounds. They looked up at the swirling vortex in the sky with solemn gazes. Bello furrowed his brow and, after a glance, flicked his sleeves, disappearing from sight. From within the vortex, several figures emerged. Ling Tianho, dressed in a blue robe, stood in the void, looking down at the earth. He opened his mouth and shouted, "Tanlang, come out and face me." His voice boomed like 1,000 thunderclaps, causing the ground to crack and spread rapidly. Ling Tianho's voice echoed throughout the entire land of demonic spirits in the blink of an eye. Strangely, Tian Yunzi and the others didn't seem surprised, as if they already knew Tanlang had arrived. Blood Ancestor, wearing a red robe, furrowed his brows. His expression darkened as he swept his divine sense upon entering. But there was no trace of Yao Shishue, as though she had vanished completely, heightening his unease. He took a deep breath and activated his divine abilities, using secret arts to scan again. His expression grew even darker. Tian Yunzi raised his right hand and made a series of intricate gestures, performing divination. Despite the interference from the East Sea, his method was usually clouded in fog. But now, within the land of demonic spirits, the fog cleared, and his divination became unimpeded. At the same moment these old experts arrived, Wang Lin, who stood outside the tidal entrance, leapt into the tidal abyss. His body shot downward like a streak of lightning, heading straight for the deep pit below. The immense force acted like an inexhaustible push, propelling Wang Lin faster, as he plummeted into the corridor leading deeper down. Ling Tianho's face darkened as his divine sense swept outward. Suddenly, 2 divine senses collided with his in the extreme north. He grunted, his body swaying, but his eyes flared with a sharp, dangerous light. At the same time, a cloud of auspicious mist appeared ahead of them without a sound. This cloud was not solid but ethereal, and atop it sat a man and a woman. It was none other than the Cloud Immortal couple, Wang Wei and Hu Wan. Wang Wei glanced calmly at Ling Tianho and the others. When his eyes shifted to Tian Yunzi, his pupils subtly contracted, though he remained composed, as Tian Yunzi, still with his eyes closed, continued his divination without any visible reaction to their presence. Wang Wei smiled. "Fellow Taoists, long time no see." Hu Wan also smiled faintly, remaining silent. Ling Tianho stared at Wang Wei, his voice cold. "Wang Wei, I've sensed Tanlang is with you. Hand him over. I have urgent matters to ask him." Wang Wei smiled and spoke to his partner. "See, after all these years, Sword Sovereign's temper hasn't lessened. If anything, it has become even fiercer." Hu Wan's eyes softened with affection as she smiled. It's only natural that Sword Sovereign cares for his disciples. Ling Tianho's expression darkened further. If not for his deep respect for these two, he would have already made a move. Wang Wei tapped his storage pouch, and 2 figures emerged from it. One was the dragon of the 12 earthly branches, and the other was Tanlang. Upon seeing Ling Tianho, the dragon of the 12 earthly branches froze, his eyes filled with overwhelming joy. He dropped to his knees, tears in his eyes, shouting, "Master, it's Tanlang. He's the one who harmed our junior brothers." Tanlang, however, remained calm, his expression unchanged. He respectfully stood behind Wang Wei and Hu Wan, like an old servant. Ling Tianho didn't look at the dragon of the 12 earthly branches, but instead locked his gaze on Tanlang, his voice cold and threatening. "Tanlang, you have some nerve." Though Tanlang's heart skipped a beat, his expression remained unchanged. He lazily glanced at the dragon of the 12 earthly branches and said, "Little brat, did I personally kill a single member of your great Luo sword sect?" The dragon of the 12 earthly branches glared at Tanlang with venom. With his master present, he found his courage and retorted, "You didn't kill us directly, but you trapped us in the purple mist. You're just as guilty. If not for that, how would our junior brothers have died?" Tanling laughed heartily. "I trapped you all there for the cave mansion token. But did I harm a single hair on you? You should be going after the one who actually killed your brothers, not blaming me." Absurd. The dragon of the 12 earthly branches was about to retort, but Ling Tianho flicked his sleeve and coldly interrupted. "Dragon, say no more." He turned his gaze back to Tanlang, his eyes filled with murderous intent, and said, "Tanlang, where is the token?" Tanlang sighed bitterly, his face full of regret, and said, "You may not believe me, but I swear by my cultivation of tens of thousands of years, that token is no longer in my possession." Ling Tianho stared at Tanlang without saying a word, waiting for him to speak. At this moment, apart from Tian Yunzi, who was still silently calculating, the other ancient beings, including the blood ancestor, all fixed their sharp gazes on Tanlang. Tanlang felt a chill run down his spine. Among this group, his cultivation was the weakest, second only to Qinlong. With so many powerful figures staring at him, his mind was immediately shaken. After a long pause, he took a deep breath and quickly said, "Wang Lin from Tianyun's sect took the token. This can be confirmed by Master Qinlong's disciple. Moreover, this very person killed members of the great Luo sword sect." Ling Tianho furrowed his brow and looked at Qinlong. Qinlong hastily spoke up, "Master, I only saw Wang Lin, who had obtained the token, being trapped by Tanlang. After that, I lost track of him. However, it is true that this person killed several of my junior brothers." At that moment, Tian Yunzi opened his eyes and suddenly looked towards the east. Trying to escape? Tian Yunzi's fingers moved faster and faster, and his gaze seemed to pierce through endless distances, directly landing on the tidal entrance of Shui Yao County. His gaze even passed through the entrance, heading straight towards the corridor. There, his eyes didn't linger but went straight to the deep pit within the corridor. Wang Lin, falling towards the pit, immediately sensed something was wrong. His body shifted, merging with the suction force, and his speed increased. As Tian Yunzi's gaze pierced through, it was affected by the powerful suction from the abyss, causing him to hesitate for a moment. However, he quickly overcame the hesitation, piercing through the force and going deeper. Tian Yunzi's divine ability immediately caught the attention of Ling Tianho and the others. Even the Cloud Immortal couple revealed surprise in their eyes. At this moment, the divine senses of all the old beings followed Tian Yunzi's gaze, rushing towards the tidal abyss and entering the deep pit. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged as he slapped his storage pouch. Instantly, the 7-star sword formation flew out and rotated around his body, forming a force that counteracted the pull of the deep pit, making him move even faster. With a single thrust, Wang Lin shot straight towards the bottom of the deep pit. In the blink of an eye, he reached the swirling vortex. At this moment, Tian Yunzi's gaze and the divine senses of the old beings descended upon him. Ling Tianho immediately spotted the 7 stars sword formation, and his anger flared. Tian Yunzi also saw Wang Lin, who was no longer marked by any killing immortal techniques. This caused Tian Yunzi's eyes to glimmer with coldness. Wang Lin's foot landed on the vortex, and he turned his head, coldly glaring behind him. His entire body then sank into the vortex, slowly disappearing. A vast, overwhelming force surged out from the vortex, spreading around. The power was so strong that even the divine senses of Tian Yunzi and the others were pushed back, unable to stop watching as Wang Lin was completely absorbed into the vortex. It wasn't that they didn't want to stop him. It was just that the power emanating from the vortex was the force that connected 2-star domains. This power was simply too strong. The moment Wang Lin merged into the vortex, the blood ancestor's divine sense transformed into an ethereal form, staring at Wang Lin. His face was extremely dark. At that moment, he had suddenly sensed the presence of Yao Shishue's aura on Wang Lin. In this aura, there was a sense of Yao Shishue's struggle and resistance. The blood ancestor could confirm that Yao Shishue's disappearance was closely related to Wang Lin. It was even highly likely that Wang Lin had captured her. His face turned cold as he shouted, "Wang Lin, where is my daughter?" The illusory abode is not 3, but 4. Wang Lin, before disappearing, his eyes flickered as he left these words. Wang Lin's words might be unclear to others, but the blood ancestor certainly understood. The 4th illusory abode was a secret only he and Yao Shishua knew about, and such a secret was one Yao Shishua would never share with anyone. This was precisely what Wang Lin had intended. Although he had left, he aimed to stir up the waters. If the blood ancestor had not discovered Yao Shishua's situation, it would have been fine. But now that he had, Wang Lin wanted to strike back. His goal was to prevent the blood ancestor from personally pursuing him because of Yao Shishua's matter. He believed that with the minds of these old beings, a single sentence from him could lead to endless speculation. Wang Lin vanished. The vortex was silent, and the old beings looked grim. Each of them, already having their own thoughts, turned their gazes towards the blood ancestor after hearing Wang Lin's words, coupled with his unusual reaction. The blood ancestor, feeling a prickling sensation on his back, was silent for a while before speaking. Indeed, there is a 4th illusory abode, but it is clear that Wang Lin has taken possession of it, and he has the token. If we don't capture him, we will never enter the true cave mansion. We knew long ago that this vortex is one of the entrances to the Luotian star domain, but the force within is too strong. Wang Lin must have had some fortuitous encounter to be able to enter it. We tried to enter back then, but failed. However, if we work together and send just one person in, it should be possible. Who will go? Ling Tianho asked coldly. If I go, my fellow Taoists might still have doubts in their hearts. Therefore, the best candidate is Tan Lang. We will each leave a restriction seal on him, ensuring he cannot escape our grasp. He will be forced to enter and capture Wang Lin. Besides, his cultivation is sufficient to deal with Wang Lin. Tian Yunzi silently gazed at the swirling vortex, a strange light flickering in his eyes. No one could discern his thoughts. Volume 7. The name shakes Luo Yun. In the dazzling starlight, countless star traces reflected the vastness of the Luotian star domain. The domain was immense, filled with countless cultivation stars. Within the Alliance star domain, only a small fraction of cultivators knew of the existence of external star domains. But in the Luotian star domain, it was different. Most cultivators there were aware that under the 4 great immortal realms of wind, rain, thunder, and lightning, there existed separate star domains. This fact was deeply tied to the dominance of the Cultivation Alliance in the Alliance star domain. Under the Alliance's concealment, including Wang Lin, the majority of cultivators were led to believe that the only power in the starry skies was the Cultivation Alliance. In contrast, the Luotian star domain was relatively free. Some secretive matters were not overly suppressed. Another key difference from the Alliance star domain was that there were no sects within the Luotian star domain. Instead, it was dominated by cultivation families, where bloodlines mattered most. Only those with shared bloodlines could form a powerful cohesion, thus creating a force. In the starry sky, several rainbow streaks shot through the heavens. Within these streaks were 4 figures, 3 men and 1 woman. Their exact ages were hard to determine, but they appeared quite youthful. Their cultivation levels were similar. The woman was at the mid-infant metamorphosis stage, while the other 3 men were at the early infant metamorphosis stage. The woman in particular seemed no older than 20. Though beautiful, her face carried a chilling air, without any arrogance but instead an aura of refined grace, like that of a noble lady. The 3 men were all handsome, but their faces were dark, occasionally glancing over their shoulders. "We should throw the crimson radiant stone away," one of the men hurriedly said. "Otherwise, these nethermist insects will keep chasing us. If we get trapped by them, the nethermist insects will pursue us even if we throw the crimson radiant stone." The woman spoke softly as she flew. Behind the 4, a vast expanse of gray mist swirled violently, howling as it approached. If one looked closely, countless tiny flying insects, each the size of a finger, could be seen emerging from the mist. This mist was released from their bodies. Each of the 4 had a star compass beneath their feet. Though they were fast, if it weren't for the woman occasionally waving her sleeve and sending out waves of crystal light to slow the mist's approach, they would have already been caught. Despite this, the woman's expression grew more and more fatigued as the mist closed in. Eventually, the mist surged with a violent force, trapping the four of them. From a distance, one could only see the vast expanse of mist in the starry sky, unable to discern the four trapped individuals. These four, 2 men and 1 woman, were from Ranyun's star in the Luotian star domain. The woman was Ranyu, while the other 3 men were Ranshun, Ranfeng, and Sun Xueshan. They had come for a trial, but by chance, they had obtained a crimson radiant stone, which led to a massive swarm of nethermist insects chasing them for days, until they were finally surrounded. The mist released by the nethermist insects was highly toxic to cultivators, capable of damaging their essence spirit and even erasing their divine abilities. If not for the faint lightning glow emitted from the woman's jade bracelet that shielded them, they would have long been consumed by the mist, their essence spirits disintegrated. The other 3 men had used their divine abilities and magic treasures to try and break through the mist, but it was too dense for them to escape. As time passed, their spiritual energy began to deplete, and their supply of medicinal pills was running low. The nethermist insects are most afraid of thunder magic. I've sent a distress signal to my family. Though we're a distance away from them, if we hold on a little longer, the elders skilled in thunder magic will come to our rescue. Ranyu said softly, her brows furrowed in worry. Her spiritual energy was draining the fastest, most of it absorbed by her bracelet. Without the bracelet, they would have been consumed by the mist in an instant. Sun Xueshan, the only outsider among the group, smiled bitterly as he looked at the dense fog around them, the countless nethermist insects flying within. Despair began to rise in his heart. If only I hadn't been so greedy, he thought. If we hadn't taken that crimson radiant stone, we wouldn't be facing this crisis now. At that moment, a silver streak shot through the gray mist, resembling a dragon. On it sat a young man dressed in white, his long hair casually tied at the back of his head. He had an ordinary appearance, but his skin gleamed, and his eyes were deep and mysterious, occasionally flashing with lightning, adding an edge to his gaze. It was Wang Lin. As Wang Lin merged with the vortex, it was as though he entered a teleportation array. When he emerged, he found himself in the starry sky, surrounded only by brilliant nebulae, with no other figures in sight. This starry sky was unfamiliar to Wang Lin, for it was not his homeland in the Alliance star domain, but rather the Luotian star domain beneath the Thunder Immortal realm. After a moment of silence, Wang Lin took out the star compass, a trace of confusion in his eyes, as he wandered through the unfamiliar star domain. In the distance, the gray mist caught Wang Lin's attention. Silver radiance shimmered beneath him as he swiftly moved closer. Electric light flickered in his eyes, and in an instant, he noticed the strangeness of the mist and the 4 people trapped within it. Under his gaze, the nethermist insects inside the fog trembled, as though Wang Lin's eyes were solid. They scattered in all directions, creating a vacant space. The 4 people trapped within the mist immediately froze. The woman, Ranyu, even showed a flash of surprise in her eyes. A mere glance was enough to make the nethermist insects retreat. This kind of divine ability made her heart tremble. She looked out of the mist and saw Wang Lin, sitting atop the silver radiance. The despair in Sun Xueshan's eyes instantly disappeared. He quickly clasped his hands and said in a loud voice, "Senior, I am a member of the Sun family from Ranyun Star. Please, if you would lend a hand, my gratitude will know no bounds." Ranshun and Ranfeng also showed expressions of joy. They respectfully clasped their hands, speaking with sincere urgency, hoping to be saved. Ranyu gazed at the young man atop the silver light, her delicate brows loosening slightly. She softly said, "Senior, I am from the Ran family of Ranyun Star. We are trapped by the nethermist insects. If you lend a hand, the Ran family will be forever grateful." Wang Lin's expression remained calm as he glanced at the 4 of them before turning his gaze away. Immediately, the mist surged, swallowing the vacant space. A cry of surprise came from within. The 4 trapped in the mist turned pale, and Sun Xueshan hastily shouted, "Senior, we have a crimson radiant stone here. If you rescue us, we will offer it to you as a token of our gratitude." Wang Lin didn't know what a crimson radiant stone was, so it held no particular allure for him. His eyes flickered as he studied the mist. He was unfamiliar with the Luotian star domain and knew he needed to gather information quickly before heading to the Xiang family, as the scroll woman had suggested. The four trapped in the mist could not see the outside world. At this moment, aside from Ranyu, the other three wore anxious and tense expressions, filled with nervousness and impatience. Ranyu's brows furrowed. The medicinal pills in her storage pouch were running low, and she feared they wouldn't last much longer. If the family didn't arrive soon, the consequences would be dire. With a clenched jaw, she said, "Senior, I." Before she could finish, Wang Lin's voice reached her through the mist. "Ranyan Star, where is it?" The four of them froze. Sun Xueshan quickly responded. "It's about 7 days' travel along the star path, to the north. If you wish to go, we can guide you, to repay your life-saving grace." Wang Lin sat on the silver radiance, his eyes flashing. He raised his right hand and pointed forward into the void. Instantly, a bolt of lightning surged from his essence spirit and shot out from his finger. When the mist had dispersed under his gaze earlier, Wang Lin had guessed that the insects must be afraid of lightning-based divine abilities. At this moment, with a flick of his finger, a bolt of thunder shot out, accompanied by a thunderous roar. The lightning resembled a thunder dragon, unleashing immense pressure as it charged into the mist. The nethermist insects within the fog immediately screeched, retreating in all directions. At the same time, a vast amount of mist surged from their bodies, rushing toward the lightning. Typically, lightning-based divine abilities would be weakened by such mist, as the toxins in the nethermist were potent. However, this was no ordinary lightning. It wasn't just any magic-derived thunder. It was true heavenly thunder, produced from the fusion of Wang Lin's essence spirit and the primordial thunder dragon, an innate ability of his essence spirit. The thunder rumbled, and the mist was completely dispersed. The electric light danced as countless nethermist insects retreated in a hurry, their bodies instinctively drawn away from the true thunder might. The pressure from the lightning felt like their natural enemy, forcing them to retreat rapidly. In the blink of an eye, as the thunder faded, all the nethermist insects had retreated far away. The four trapped individuals immediately broke free and shot towards Wang Lin like four long rainbows. Without exception, they all felt like they had narrowly escaped death, but more than that, their hearts were shaken to the core. Sun Xueshan looked at Wang Lin with shock in his eyes. As a native of the Luoyun star domain, he was no stranger to thunder-based divine abilities. Although he couldn't perform them himself, the Luoyun star domain was closely connected to the Thunder Immortal realm, and thunder magic was among the most powerful techniques here. His shock came from the trace of genuine thunder might that was infused in the earlier bolt of lightning. He couldn't imagine what kind of thunder magic could possess such a power. Even the elders and ancestors in his family could never achieve such a feat. Ranyu and the other two men from the Ran family were equally astonished. Their eyes were wide with disbelief. Ranyu, in particular, gasped in awe, her gaze toward Wang Lin suddenly brightening. Having reached the mid-infant metamorphosis stage, she held a higher position in the family than the other three and was aware of some more secret matters. At this moment, her mind trembled, and combining what she had seen with the earlier thunderbolt, she took a deep breath and respectfully said, "I am a 9th-generation member of the Ran family. Senior, are you perhaps the Thunder Envoy?" Upon hearing this, Sun Xueshan's face changed dramatically, and he thought to himself, "That's it. This person must be the Thunder Envoy. But why would the Thunder Envoy come to Ranyan Star?" Though Ranyu was shocked deep down, her expression quickly returned to normal. Seeing that Wang Lin remained silent, she couldn't help but wonder. Although the person before her had a similar magical aura, the position of the Thunder Envoy was far above hers, and she had her doubts. What truly surprised her, however, was that she couldn't discern his cultivation level. This made her even more uncertain about Wang Lin's identity. As for the other three, especially Sun Xueshan, they showed great respect toward Wang Lin, even to the point of fanaticism. After hearing Ranyu's words, Sun Xueshan immediately confirmed in his heart that the person before them was undoubtedly the Thunder Envoy. "Senior, if you wish to travel to Ranyan Star, I would be honored to guide you," Sun Xueshan said respectfully. Wang Lin nodded, sitting atop the silver dragon, and flew northward. Sun Xueshan hurried to follow, with Ranyu and the others trailing behind. After a while, Wang Lin furrowed his brow. The four were too slow. At this pace, it would take them 7 days to reach their destination. He pondered for a moment, then slowed the star compass, keeping it in sync with the others. In this unfamiliar Luotian star domain, there was no need for him to rush. Instead, he saw it as an opportunity to learn more about the region, which would be useful for his future actions. Are there any other cultivation stars near Ranyan Star? Wang Lin asked calmly. Sun Xueshan had been secretly eyeing the silver dragon-shaped star compass beneath Wang Lin. His eyes gleamed with envy. Upon hearing Wang Lin's question, he quickly responded, "Yes, Ranyan Star belongs to one of the 5 great stars of the northern domain, the Thousand Illusions Star. There are many other stars around it that are also part of this group." Although he found it odd that Wang Lin was unaware of this, he thought to himself that given the vast number of cultivation stars in the Luotian star domain, it made sense. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged, but his heart stirred. Thousand Illusions Star. Thousand Illusions. This name sounds familiar. The Vermilion Bird disciple, Lu Mei, practiced the Thousand Illusions of Heartlessness path. It shouldn't be related. After all, they belong to different star domains. The Northern Domain. It seems the Luotian star domain is divided into 4 regions: East, West, South, and North. I am currently in the North. Thanks to Sun Xueshan's words, Wang Lin now had a vague impression of the Luotian star domain. At this moment, Ranyu softly spoke. "Senior, you saved us, but we still don't know your name." "Su Mu," Wang Lin said indifferently. He guessed that Tian Yunzi and the others would catch up at some point, so he concealed his true name. "Su." Ranyu's eyelids twitched slightly, and her heart was shaken. She quickly lowered her head, her mind swirling with curiosity about Wang Lin's identity. The Su family. They are a powerful family from the Thousand Illusions Star in the Northern Domain. Could this person be from the Su family? If she hadn't previously speculated about Wang Lin's identity, she wouldn't have thought much about his surname. But her earlier suspicions had led her to overthink, and now her imagination ran wild. When Wang Lin introduced himself as Su Mu, even Sun Xueshan's pupils contracted, and his respect grew even deeper. "May I ask, Senior Su, where do you come from?" Ranyu raised her head and asked. The moment the words left her mouth, she regretted them, feeling uneasy. As a junior, such a question might offend him, so she quickly added, "Please do not take offense, Senior. I was wrong." Wang Lin gave her a calm glance. She was quite intelligent, with the demeanor of a noble woman. Her speech revealed that she was the leader of the 4. Donglin Star. Are you familiar with it? Wang Lin's gaze shifted away as he spoke in a neutral tone, without revealing any emotion. Donglin. Sun Xueshan's expression changed drastically. His gaze toward Wang Lin shifted from shock to sheer terror. He instinctively took several steps back, his face turning pale. It wasn't just him. Aside from Ranyu, the 2 other men from the Ran family also turned ashen, their eyes filled with horror as they looked at Wang Lin. Even Ranyu gasped in surprise, her previous speculations about Wang Lin completely vanishing. The 4's reactions were somewhat out of place given their cultivation levels. Wang Lin had encountered several infant metamorphosis cultivators who, although not as experienced as old schemers aiming for ascension, were still deep in thought and rarely swayed. The 4 before him, however, seemed somewhat naive in comparison. Given what he knew, Wang Lin suddenly had the sense that these family-based cultivation powers hadn't experienced the trials of blood and death. Even if their cultivation levels were high, they hadn't been tempered by countless life and death battles. They were more like eagles with clipped wings, unable to soar through the skies. Wang Lin remained composed, his voice calm as he slowly scanned the 4 of them. "Do you know of Donglin Star?" Ranyu's face gradually turned pale as she respectfully spoke. "Senior, Donglin Star is the #1 star in the eastern region of the Luotian star domain. This star has another name, known as the Eastern Arrival Slaughter Star. What's even more mysterious is that it's ethereal, sometimes appearing and sometimes vanishing." There was something Ranyu didn't say. Every person who came from Donglin Star was ruthless. In the past, a cultivator from Donglin Star had once slaughtered every family on a cultivation star, an event that still sent shivers down the spine. To most people in the Luotian star domain, Donglin star was a terrifying nightmare. Afterward, even Sun Xueshan dared not look at Wang Lin. His heart was filled with confusion and suspicion, unsure of what Su Mu was going to do on Ranyun star. This uncertainty also grew in the hearts of the three Ran family members. Their pace slowed, weighed down by their doubts, and they almost didn't want to take Wang Lin to Ranyun star. However, despite their inner turmoil, they didn't dare refuse, and with a heavy heart, they continued heading toward Ranyun star. In their eyes, Wang Lin rarely spoke, but he seemed to know everything. Several times, whenever the four of them considered changing direction, they would meet Wang Lin's cold gaze. Days later, a water-blue planet appeared within Wang Lin's divine sense. It was clear that the ocean covered most of the planet. From a distance, Ranyun star appeared beautiful, radiating thick spiritual energy that nourished all living things. From their expressions, Wang Lin understood that this was Ranyun star. The spiritual energy here far exceeded that of Wang Lin's hometown, Vermilion Bird Star. Stepping forward, the star compass transformed into a dazzling silver light and entered Ranyun star. Soon, the silver light disappeared, and Wang Lin stood beneath the vibrant blue sky. Here, the spiritual energy emanated from the ocean below, even denser than before. Wang Lin took a deep breath, his body swaying before vanishing without a trace. The four guides, pale as death, rushed back to their family as soon as they returned to Ranyun star. They reported everything they had seen on the journey, just in case. When Wang Lin entered Ranyun star, far on the other side of the Luotian star domain, in the Alliance star domain, a pitch-black rainbow streaked across the stars. It exuded an aura of terrifying might, and wherever it passed, the atmosphere rumbled like thunder. Within the rainbow was an old man, his face filled with defiance, a thin, sharp expression crossing his features. What was astonishing was that he didn't use any star compass or magical artifact to fly in the starry sky. Each step he took seemed like teleportation. He was not alone. A woman accompanied him. Her beauty was beyond compare, her red lips naturally tinted, her slender brows slightly furrowed, and her phoenix eyes dark and captivating. Her every glance was mesmerizing, her beauty unparalleled. Her long hair was braided into 3 strands, one tied at the back with a white jade butterfly pin. The other 2 strands fell loosely over her shoulders. She wore a light-colored embroidered palace dress with a flowing green skirt that swirled gracefully with every step, exuding elegance. Her beauty rivaled the legendary red butterfly from years ago, and her natural allure only grew stronger, with a subtle, almost magnetic charm. She walked behind the old man, not using her own speed but instead being pulled along by the old man's immortal power. Otherwise, even though her cultivation had reached the peak, she would not have been able to keep up with him. As they flew, she glanced back at the starry sky, her eyes filled with a strange expression, part reminiscence, part sigh, but mostly complexity. "We're about to leave." The woman sighed softly. "Mayor, are you reluctant to leave?" The defiant old man glanced at her, his eyes softening slightly. "I grew up here," the woman replied, gently tucking a strand of her blue hair behind her ear. "It's hard to leave." The old man smiled. "There's no need for reluctance. Once you've perfected your cultivation, you can always return. As for this journey to the Alliance star domain, although we didn't find that treasure, accepting you as my disciple has been worth it." The woman smiled but didn't speak, her gaze lingering on the starry sky behind her, her complex emotions growing stronger. The old man turned his attention back to the road ahead. He had encountered this woman by chance hundreds of years ago and immediately recognized her cultivation path as the 1,000 illusions of heartlessness. What stunned him even more was the subtle signs of her progressing toward the 10,000 illusions heavenly demon path. This discovery had left him greatly astonished. Cultivation in the heartless path was not limited by star domains, and the techniques varied greatly. It mainly focused on understanding one's mindset. But to reach the 1,000 illusion stage by one's own efforts was a rare feat. If that was all, it would not have been enough to prompt him to take her as a disciple. What truly intrigued him was the faint yet distinct signs of her path towards the 10,000 illusions heavenly demon path. As the great elder of the Phantom clan of the Illusion Star in the northern domain of the Luotian Star domain, he had encountered many younger members of various families. However, aside from a few, none could compare to the natural talent of this woman. Even those few, in terms of potential, were lacking. Thus, the elder immediately made up his mind to take her as his disciple. The hundreds of years of companionship had made him even more protective of this disciple. He even gave up his search for the heaven-defying pearl here, choosing instead to bring her back to the Luotian Star domain. The moment Wang Lin appeared, 3 powerful divine senses swept over immediately. As they approached, Wang Lin's figure vanished, and no trace of his presence remained. 2 of the divine senses seemed to hold some caution toward each other, not engaging in conversation. After sweeping through their respective areas, they retracted. Only the 3rd one arrogantly swept through the entire Renegade Star. After finding nothing, it snorted coldly and disappeared. The sound of this snort echoed across the entire Renegade Star, and it also reached Wang Lin's ears. In a plain to the north of Renegade Star, Wang Lin's figure appeared. He looked up at the sky and murmured, 1 at the mid-ascension stage, 2 at the early ascension stage. This Luotian Star domain is quite interesting. Such a spirit-rich cultivation star, yet it has only 3 forces, and each force has only 1 ascension cultivator. If Renegade Star were in the Cultivation Alliance, it would likely be seized. It would either be entirely occupied by an elder at the 2nd step or moved by a 6th-grade cultivation nation. No way would it only have 3 ascension cultivators. As Wang Lin pondered, his aura began to retract, and in an instant, no ascension aura was left. He now appeared to have only the cultivation level of late core formation. Wang Lin's cultivation was originally at early ascension, but with the peculiarities of his essence spirit, unless someone of higher cultivation was very close, it would be impossible to detect his concealment using divine sense alone. Of course, those who had stepped into the 2nd step would be exceptions. I am hidden here. I doubt anyone will find me. Even if Tian Yunzi and others come after me, they won't suspect that I am hiding within such a cultivation star. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with a sharp gleam, which gradually faded. In the end, his eyes were no longer sharp, but calm and indifferent, with only black and white in them. From the expressions of those 4 little fellows, it seems the Donglin Star's influence is very strong. Before I reach sufficient cultivation, I must avoid going there. A slight smile appeared on Wang Lin's lips. His demeanor became as gentle as a spring breeze, no longer cold and aloof. As he took a step, an ordinary flying sword flew out from his storage pouch, landing beneath his feet and transforming into sword light that sped away. While flying, his appearance slowly changed. Before long, he had completely altered his looks. At this point, even someone familiar with him would fail to recognize him. This technique of altering one's appearance was common among cultivators, but to high-level cultivators, it was a useless ability, easily detected with focused attention. In fact, even in front of some divine sense cultivators, one glance would reveal the true appearance. But Wang Lin was different. He wasn't using his own technique to alter his appearance. It was a technique of the immortal guard within his figure. As a result, few could detect the change. Not long after, a city appeared ahead. The entire city was surrounded by huge blue stones, exuding a commanding air. On the city gate, 2 large characters were written. Sun Family. Several miles outside the city, Wang Lin sheathed his flying sword, transforming into a long rainbow as he landed. With a flick of his robes, he brushed away the dust carried by the wind and walked forward leisurely. Perhaps due to recognizing his cultivation level at late core formation, the guards at the city gate didn't make a thorough inspection. After informing Wang Lin that there were cave mansions prepared for visiting cultivators in the northern part of the city, he paid a few spirit stones and exchanged them for a temporary residence token, entering the city controlled by the Sun family. The city was mostly populated by mortals, but cultivators were also common. The streets were lined with various shops selling items commonly used by cultivators, as well as some stores for the mortals. Walking through the streets, Wang Lin's expression was calm, as though he were a native of the city. Since he planned to settle here, he was looking for a place to reside. Entering the northern part of the city, Wang Lin immediately felt the tranquility and the richness of spiritual energy. Looking around, he saw countless solitary houses, each protected by a restriction seal. Near the entrance, there was also a restriction preventing mortals from entering, with a 3-meter-high stone bearing 7 or 8 black tokens hanging on it. Under the stone, a young man in the nascent soul stage sat cross-legged, eyes closed as he practiced breathing. 2 energy dragons streamed out of his nostrils, spreading in the air. Wang Lin stood outside the entrance, surveying the area. To him, the restriction was simple. He didn't need to break it. Stepping inside would not trigger any reaction from the restriction. As he was observing, the young man under the stone opened his eyes, glanced at Wang Lin, and said, "There are only 8 available cave mansions. Which one do you want?" Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged, and he calmly responded, "What's the difference?" The young man's face showed impatience as he replied, "The superior abode costs 1,000 low-grade spirit stones a year, while the inferior abode costs 100. Wang Lin paused for a moment, then placed 100 spirit stones beside him. The young man's eyes revealed a look of disdain as he flicked his sleeve, collecting the spirit stones and reaching out to grab a token from a stone behind him. He tossed it toward Wang Lin and said, "5th to the west, go." Afterward, the young man closed his eyes again, focusing on his breathing technique. Wang Lin took the token and glanced at it. It had 2 restriction seals, one of which was for the entrance. He shifted his gaze and walked through the entrance with the token in hand. As soon as he entered, the young man under the stone opened his eyes, sneering and muttering to himself, "Another outsider cultivator, no doubt here to use my son family's spiritual energy to form their nascent soul. Humph, forming the nascent soul isn't so easy. This one's talent is mediocre, and if he has reached the core formation stage, it's probably due to some medicinal pills." Wang Lin naturally heard the young man's words. He turned back to glance at him before continuing on. After a while, he arrived at the 5th room to the west. The house was quaint, simple in appearance, yet spiritual energy lingered within. Walking inside with the token, Wang Lin surveyed the surroundings and found himself satisfied. The room contained only a bed, a meditation mat, a Dan furnace in the side room, and a semi-enclosed seclusion chamber. Though small, the room had an elegant simplicity. Outside the room, Wang Lin waved his right hand casually, slightly enhancing the room's inherent restriction seal, increasing its power by more than 10-fold. He then sat cross-legged inside and deeply inhaled the rich spiritual energy. His expression relaxed as the energy flowed through his veins. After a while, he exhaled the impure air, his eyes reflecting a sense of reflection. "It's been a long time since I last practiced breathing techniques. But unfortunately, no matter how dense the spiritual energy here is, it won't help me improve my cultivation," Wang Lin thought, looking at the remaining immortal jade in his storage pouch. It had been nearly exhausted during his previous breakthrough, and there was barely enough left for daily cultivation needs. 5 drops of immortal liquid left. Although I consumed 4 drops when taking the ascension fruit, which has allowed my immortal power to flow continuously, this can't last long. In a few more years, the medicinal effects of the immortal liquid will settle within my body, and it will no longer sustain the immortal power. Moreover, 1 drop of immortal liquid is enough for a breakthrough, but after a breakthrough, the amount of immortal power required increases exponentially. Swallowing it now would be wasteful. It would be best used to heal injuries or temporarily sustain the immortal power. For daily cultivation, obtaining more immortal jade is the most crucial task. Outside, the sky gradually darkened, and the room was shrouded in darkness. Wang Lin waved his right hand casually, and the candle stand lit up immediately, making a faint crackling sound as the flame illuminated the room. On the ceiling, there was a fist-sized blue pearl. As the candlelight flickered, the wisps of smoke were absorbed by the pearl. Slowly, the smoke inside the pearl dissipated, and it began to glow. This caught Wang Lin's interest. He had never seen such an ingenious design. Looking up at the pearl, he saw its light growing brighter. Half an incense stick later, the pearl was shining brightly, casting a soft blue light. The surrounding candle flames extinguished, and the pearl's glow became the only source of light in the room. This pearl contains 3 formations, forming a small spell that absorbs smoke and converts heat into light. The Luotian star domain excels in such designs compared to the Cultivation Alliance. A faint scent of sandalwood emanated from the pearl, soothing the mind and lifting the spirit. The third formation is this sandalwood fragrance, Wang Lin mused, his gaze returning to the pearl. The fragrance was non-toxic and could actually enhance a cultivator's breathing technique, a rare alchemy material. Sitting cross-legged in the room, the outside world was quiet. Wang Lin pondered for a long time. His eyes flickered with thought, and an idea arose in his mind. However, after a moment's reflection, he dismissed it. Resorting to theft is beneath me. Moreover, the amount of immortal jade I need is beyond the reach of ordinary cultivators, unless they are at the peak of cultivation or belong to a powerful family in the Luotian star domain. However, if I act like this, I would have to leave Ranyun Star afterward and seek another place. That doesn't sit well. With a contemplative expression, Wang Lin raised his head after a while, having made his decision. He slapped his storage pouch, and several refining materials flew out. He exhaled a breath of essence spirit qi, enveloping the materials. In an instant, they melted and, following Wang Lin's will, transformed into 3 molds. A flying sword, a bronze mirror, and a hairpin. Wang Lin formed hand seals, imbuing the molds with restriction seals. Gradually, the 3 magical artifacts emitted a pressure, and because they had been refined with Wang Lin's essence spirit, faint electrical currents flickered within. After finishing the seals, Wang Lin reflected for a moment, recalling the cultivator he had encountered on Vermilion Bird Star, who had mastered the concept of time. With his current cultivation, especially after acquiring his own Dao concept, he was able to replicate it with some resemblance. He summoned the bronze mirror with a flick of his right hand, and the concept of time merged into it. Afterward, Wang Lin entered meditation once more. This time, it was the illusory, heartless path of willow eyebrows from years ago. A myriad of illusions flashed through his mind before converging into a single beam of light that burst forth from his eyes and merged into the hairpin. As for the final flying sword, Wang Lin didn't imprint it with any insight. Instead, he struck it with a teleportation seal, embedding the technique directly into the blade.